We're heading up to Buffalo where we find Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald. Omar, good morning. I know your travel was not smooth up to Buffalo, but good morning here this morning.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I don't complain about coming to Buffalo. I do complain about coming to Buffalo, but that's just the norm. Um, Not one of my favorite places to be. However, the weather is wonderful right now, and that's not something that I could say about Buffalo often.
Good. So we erased the narrative of the cold weather thing at least here today. With they do play a good team in the Bills. Omar, they are heavy underdogs. What can you tell us as we get set for this one here tonight? What can you tell us injury wise, as far as who is in and who is out as we go into this Thursday night football game?
Yeah, I think we need to start with Benito Jones, who was nose tackle. The reason I start with Benito Jones is because Benito is a very formidable, important defensive lineman who helps you kind of keep your 3-4 defense intact. Uh, so he didn't play last week with an oblique injury. We saw some rookies come in, pretty much struggle a little bit, and he's questionable for the game, but I expect him to play. Ify Melifonwu with a calf injury, he is out. That's something that surfaced last week. That's going to force Ashton Davis and Dante Trader Jr., a rookie, to step up and elevate their level of contribution. Aaron Brewer, who suffered a hip injury last week, he's definitely playing. That if you had lost him, that would mean you're down 3 of your starting 5 offensive linemen, which is never a good spot. Jaylen Wright has cleared to play, so it looks like he'll be active for the game. Same thing with Ethan Bonner, who's been sidelined with a hamstring injury. He looks like he'll be active for the game. And Jaylen Waddle has a shoulder injury. He's questionable for the game. I've watched Jaylen do his stem treatment in the locker room. I think he's fine. I think he's going to be playing. So that now will he be 100%? Probably not. He probably won't be 100% for the entire season. But let's just hope that the shoulder heals.
Dolphins, Omar, 11.5-point underdogs in this game.
Mhm.
Obviously, the vibes are not very positive in South Florida right now. But if you were going to draw up what a Dolphins upset victory would look like tonight, what has to happen for Miami to pull this off and get their season on track?
Very, very easy recipe for you. Be stout at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Offense and defensively. That means run the ball effectively, protect your quarterback. And defensively, that means stopping the run. And I don't necessarily know if I want to harass Josh Allen, but it'll be nice to force him off his spots, rush him a little, get a couple of takedowns. Josh Allen's going to do what he's going to do. I mean, there's nothing you could do to stop him except break his nose, which they did last week.
That didn't stop him either, though. So in
Nope.
fairness.
That didn't stop him either. To me, turnovers will be the key to the game. If you give Buffalo extra possessions, you're in trouble. And Miami probably needs some extra possessions in order to keep up the score. Obviously, they can't have a ton of penalties, can't have a ton of missed assignments and miscommunications, and I'd love to see Tyreek, go off again. Tyreek is the key to this offense being back to top 10 status, and even I love the way Tua said basically, Tyreek, I'm gonna come to you, whether or not they got you covered, you make it right. And that really is how they won in 2022 and 2023. And I think you need to go back to it.
Omar Kelly here with us on QAM. Omar in Buffalo for Thursday Night Football here this evening. Omar, I got to just, I know what people are thinking, what people are talking about out there. Is it possible, if this goes very poorly, that there are changes made and it's going to be a long week here for the Dolphins heading into that Monday night game? Is it possible there are changes made if this thing goes very poorly tonight?
I think that it definitely is possible. However, I don't expect it unless we're looking at a 40-point loss, and it's very clear and evident that the team has quit on them. I don't think we're going to be seeing the changes get made, because I don't know how changes make it better before it makes it worse. And this, even if it's an 0-3 start, the season is still not over. But you have to go into the home game against the Jets, a team you'll probably be favored against, to sort of evaluate where you are as a team compared to what your peers. The reality is, and I know Buffalo's in your division, they're not your peer. They're not your peer. They're really just your daddy. Josh Allen has been whooping up on you for years. Yes, you've beaten him a couple of times, twice to be in fact, but he's pretty much dominated the Dolphins his entire career. And I don't see anything stopping him from doing that right now, because the defense hasn't even found their flow yet. But if you have an embarrassing poor performance against the Jets the following week, the next week on Monday Night Football, then I think it's time to pull the plug and make changes. But the biggest issue I have with making changes is people have this belief that Anthony Weaver is going to take over as a defensive coordinator. I mean, as the head coach, and his defense is struggling probably a little bit more than the offense right now. His defense is the one is the unit that's probably playing less under expectations, and has less justification. There are a couple of key injuries on offense that are impacting how they're performing. The defense doesn't have that same excuse. I mean, unless you count Ethan Bonner and Storm Duck as key injuries, and I don't, because the two guys that replaced them are more proven, more accomplished, and more talented cornerbacks. So we're sitting here and expecting to elevate a guy whose unit is part of the problem. And I'm like, how much sense does that make? Now, who's to say it couldn't be Stoodsville, who's already been an interim coach when he took over for Denver, or Bevel, who was an interim coach in Jacksonville, or you can give it to the tight end coach. I forgot what his name is, but more than likely, Steve Ross is going to name the guy who's got the brightest future, or the guy that can rally the troops and injects confidence into the team. And that would be Anthony Weaver. But the truth of the matter is, it's not going to fix or solve your problem. It's probably just going to make your team worse.
Well, that might be the idea at this point, Omar. But I got to ask you about this, because we still have people that are all on board with Tua, like 100% in. They think he's the guy. It's just the fact that they didn't put an offensive line around him. They got a bad coach in Mike McDaniel, who doesn't do him any favors, even though I think Mike McDaniel saved his entire career. But nevertheless, we still have people that are on this board, on this thing here, that like Tua is the guy. Yeah, I would argue, Omar, that Tua has shown, even with the offensive line struggles, he has shown that he lacks a lot of skills that are necessary to succeed in this league. And I think he even admitted as much, that he can't do half of what Josh Allen can do, and yet you paid him like Josh Allen. So where do you stand on Tua at the moment, Omar? Is it the fact that we just haven't we've done him so much of a disservice here that he can't succeed, or is he the guy and we just don't know?
We're having a rough patch of the season. If you want to argue that Tua is not good, based on what you've seen in 2 games, then I guess we're going to ignore his entire career, which is fine. Tua has the Dolphins with Tua since 2020 have the 10th best record in the NFL. You could say whether good or bad. Since 2020, Dolphins have the 10th best record. With Tua as the starting quarterback since 2020, the Dolphins have the 6th best record in the NFL. Say whether it was Tua or whether it was the defense, the one thing that I've always found very disappointing about football fans is, no matter what's going on, especially the simple ones, everything comes back to the quarterback. everything is always the quarterback's fault, because it's easy to talk about the quarterback because that's the aspect of the game everybody thinks they know and everybody thinks they understand. If I'm going to name Tua, I'm going to list Tua as the problem why the Dolphins are 0-2. He'd probably rank maybe 8th on that list. Now, is his play excellent right now? No, it's not. He can single-handedly take.
Right? I don't know if that matters to you. He's the highest paid player on the team. I don't know if that matters to you.
So, no, it doesn't, because most quarterbacks are the highest paid player unless they're on a rookie contract.
Most people would argue that quarterback is the most important position in all of professional sports.
Okay, so who's your replacement? What is your solution?
Everyone's got to handle him with such kid gloves. Like, oh, we can't blame him. It's not, it's not fair.
You can't blame him.
Paid $250 million to be the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Like, why do we have to handle him with kid gloves all the time?
One, he's not going to get paid $250 million. Two, his contract is only real until 2026. So that means you've got 1 more year of real commitment. I only count guaranteed money in NFL contracts. And two, yes, what he makes puts a strain on the rest of the team, but it does not explain why the Dolphins are poorly built, because the Dolphins are poorly built and have been poorly built even before Tua got his contract. So that's not the reason why the Dolphins have a cheap roster or a bad roster or a disconjointed roster. Tua's not the reason why you didn't spend money on cornerback. Tua's not the reason why you decided to go young on defensive line. Tua's not the reason why you traded away Jonnu Smith. Tua's not the reason why you got rid of Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, 2 players that, by the way, you're still paying for, and not a little bit, but probably $20 million this season on the tab. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of players. You understand what I'm saying? $20 million in dead cap is a lot of players.
I understand, and I understand that we got a game tonight, and hopefully. At the very least, Omar, you will enjoy yourself out there. It's your last time at that stadium in Buffalo. So I want to thank you for coming on with us here this morning, and enjoy the game tonight. We'll check in with you either tomorrow or early next week. All right, my friend?
All right, fellas.